I'm going to say that usually we have it reversed, and public comments for items on the agenda are our last public comment. But since we have had several people wanting to speak lately, we have shifted those positions. But we will go back to that at our next meeting. So again, anybody who wants to say anything for anything on the agenda, please come up, state your name and where you live. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to reports of committees. That would bring us to Planning Committee. Ms. Driscoll.
Got new microphones? Okay. Good evening, Peggy Driscoll, Chair of the Planning Commission, here to give you a report on our February 18th meeting. We had 5 zoning hearing applications. The first one was Guckin at 433 Burns Lane. The applicant is seeking a variance for increased impervious surface of 23.9%, where 12% is allowable, and 19.8% is the existing impervious, and a special exception to construct an attached garage and an addition to the house on a non-conforming lot. The plans call for a portion of the addition to be built over an existing patio. The applicant explained that their family has a number of cars that they would like to park on their property rather than at the curb. The Commission discussed the increased impervious and the need to remove a few trees. We recommend that the board take no position on this application, but also recommend that the applicant be prepared to show the zoning hearing board how they intend to offset the increased runoff with some stormwater management measurements. The next we had community options at 17 Blacksmith Road. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow 142 parking spaces where 146 are required, and to install 4 electric charging stations in the LI zoning district. The Commission recommends that the board not take a position on this application. The charging stations will be available for public use as well as for the employees and the tenants. Next, we had Palman at 132 Cornell Road. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a hot tub to be located 6 feet from the property line where the minimum setback is 10 feet. The hot tub will have a locked cover and appropriate fencing with a locked gate. The property backs to open space, and the applicant has the support of the HOA and adjacent neighbors. The applicant explained that he is adding this hot tub as an accommodation for a special needs child. The Commission recommends that the board take no position on this application. Next, we had CNN Bank at 3 Terry Drive. The applicant is seeking multiple variances for signage to permit 6 signs, all with increased size over the permitted square footage. The location has been occupied by Sovereign Bank and Santander Bank in recent years. All these proposed signs had been granted variances in the past. The Commission members recommend that the board not take a position on this application. We were all in agreement that because of the location of the driveways and the entrances to the building, all of the signs are necessary. And last, we had Pembroke Brandywine LLC, 100 Brandywine Boulevard. This is the building at the intersection of Lindenhurst and the bypass. The applicant is seeking variances to allow a D2 medical use in a portion of the existing building and a reduction in parking to allow 531 spaces where 564 are required. The Commission recommends that the board take no position on this application. We're eager to see this large building occupied with tenants. And the Commission discussed expanding the permitted uses in the OR district. One of our new members is a hospital employee, and we discussed that we would want to allow medical offices in the district, but we should be careful that it does not include any hospital uses, which can be disruptive to surrounding neighborhoods. And that was all we had. Any questions?
If I may.
Amen.
Regarding the CNN Bank requiring 6 signs, you said that all of them are necessary, but I was interested in the sign on the clock tower. Is that really necessary? I heard that perhaps they may not put up that sign in any case. Did they talk about that?
Well, yeah, they do want to put a sign there. Previously, that is a permitted spot for a sign. Santander did not have a sign there, but all the previous tenants did have signage on that.
Well, what do you mean it's permitted? They need a variance for it, right?
Previously, there have been signs there, so,
I understand that. But Santander didn't have a sign there.
no, they did not.
And
But CNN is requesting
they
that.
did pretty well without that sign.
Couldn't have been that good.
Anyway,
It's an
Right.
odd-shaped building, and you have to go around the back and getting in. It is confusing. We do think the additional signage is necessary.
yeah, I just don't see the need to have it on the clock tower, but that's okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Driscoll?
No?
Seeing none?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports of board members. I want to say that March 26th, we will be honoring our Newtown firefighters for their heroic actions, saving a Lower Makefield citizen from could have been a fatal fire. So I think we've decided to have a little ceremony for them here to acknowledge that they were truly heroic that day, and they went above and beyond the call of duty. Also, we have begun working on a contract with the borough for fire services next year. This will be ongoing all year, and hopefully we'll both come to an agreement before the due date comes and passes. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Just one brief report. I attended on Saturday morning, the Bucks County Bucks County Association of Township Officials. I knew I was going to forget that. It's an annual convention that they have, and during that, with the highlight of the morning was a panel discussion of, let me get this right, ensuring a robust future for emergency services. And I would say that the star of the show was our own Fire Chief, Glenn Forsyth, and just wanted to give him a shout out for that. And I also brought booklets for the staff and board, and I didn't bring cookies. I ate them all. That's all I have.
C'est moi.
Yes.
I had a Meet Mac Tuesday meeting via Zoom. Usually it's Monday, but on Monday I'm taking a stand-up comedy class at Unscripted Productions, and I invite everybody on March 27th to see my act at the Comedy Cabaret above Poco's in Doylestown.
Nothing else? Okay. Mr. Calabro? Mr. Davis?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Moving on to our consent agenda, which includes the minutes, the bills, and a financial security release. Does anybody have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I request that the Assistant Secretary, Assistant Treasurer read the bills list.
Oh, are you kidding? I didn't bring it with me.
Well, here,
You want me to read the bills list?
I want you to say that since we're paying the people's money, they should know how much we're paying.
Okay.
You put it in that consent, it's like hiding it.
All right. The motion includes this bills list, which has funding expenses of $210,952.92, and it has a total fund transfers of $595,000.
Is that the motions on the first part of it? Is that your motion?
Oh, well, I guess we do the first part first.
Sure, that's how we used to
The
do it.
expenses are $210,952.92. I guess there's a motion to approve those expenses.
I'll second it.
Do we have a motion to approve the release of the Mayfield Financial Security release as well, which is part of the consent agenda?
We got to vote on that.
Well, I thought we had a motion for the whole group of three.
Oh, this is for all of them. Okay. Okay, so hearing a motion and a second, any other comment from the board? Any from the public? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No,
Motion passes, sorry, 4-1. Okay, that brings us to reports of officials, which starts with our engineer's report.
Thank you. The item that we had was just approved under the consent agenda. I can provide a brief update on the township's liquid fuels road program. We're underway with the design on that, so hopefully next month we'll be seeking authorization to bid. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has on anything in our report.
I'm interested in the crosswalk projects. Do you know when they might actually be starting? I guess on Silo Drive and North Sycamore, and on Newtown Yardley Road and Tara Boulevard?
Yep, so the contractor had provided us with material submittals that we reviewed and approved. We can, we're working on the schedule with them. We were waiting on some better weather, just, with concrete work, but hopefully, in the next few weeks, we might get started out there. So we'll follow up with the contractor on their exact schedule now that the materials are approved, and then we'll follow up with the township on that.
So there's no problem with the supply chain or anything like that?
There is always a lead time with those signal poles, but it's pretty standard. I'm not hearing that it's anything out of the ordinary at this point, but I can provide a better update once we follow up with the contractor.
The only other thing I asked you by email was about the crosswalk to the across the bypass to Summit Trace that connects Newtown with Middletown.
Yep, so our office, we did some traffic counting out there in order to prepare the recommendation, the memorandum that we'd provide to PennDOT. We're in the final stages of, preparing that memorandum, should be provided to the township very shortly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to our solicitor's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We just had the report from our chair from the Planning Commission, who reviewed the 5 variances that we reviewed and prepared for your consideration. I can provide more information on those if you'd like, but otherwise, on all 5, we requested or suggested you take no action and permit the zoning hearing board to take charge of these matters and do them appropriately. I would also just point out that the one matter that's a bit unusual, the Pembroke Brandywine, where they're seeking a D2 medical use. You guys who were on the board about 8 years ago will recall when we actually decided to redo the Business Commons LI-OLI district, which we just completed a few months ago. You intentionally left out the OR district, which is the more heavy industry district, and you had some good reasons for doing that. But in the past several years, I'm sure we've all seen a number of medical facilities, medical offices that have opened up in Newtown. And while you can continue to address this matter variance at a time, which is fine, this particular building, which is one of the biggest office buildings, if not the biggest office building in Newtown, which has always struggled with occupancy, might be appropriate to consider that and other buildings that are in the OR district for the D2 medical use. Nothing you have to do, but it's something you may want to consider or direct the planner, the township planner, to do some work on that. But that's all I have for you. And do you guys have any position you want to take? You any changes? I didn't hear any comments or questions during this, during the presentation before, so that I would
Right.
suggest that
Yes.
that you don't have anything else you wish to discuss on those matters.
I just had a question. I don't know, did anyone in the planning commission meeting mention that we have a EV ordinance that's like a couple of months away from being enacted?
Yes, that
Possibly.
was mentioned, and I reviewed what they want to do with the proposed ordinance, which is basically almost done, one more review apparently. And it was basically on all fours with what we want to do. So there's no advertising, it's small. They're going to have signs up about not parking there unless you're charging your car. So in all important aspects, it comports with our
Proposed
upcoming ordinance, yeah.
And that is a private
Correct.
company, so
Yes,
it doesn't necessarily have to follow the EV
correct.
charging
It's
station.
for the convenience of their tenants.
Anybody have any questions about anything on the solicitor's report? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve these items on the solicitor's report. Do I have such a motion?
If I may, Madam Chairman, I think the motion is best drafted as the board has decided to take no position on these 5 matters, and you can
Okay.
list the matters and leave it to the zoning hearing board to deal with the
I got you.
issues.
Thank you for that. Okay, so anybody have a problem passing this on to the zoning hearing board without comment? Okay. Okay,
Thank
we're
you.
all in favor.
That's all we
of that,
have.
it seems. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on to the manager's report. That went
Thank you,
quick.
Madam Chair. General fund balance this evening is $6,601,257. Plan expirations before the board with no action required, and this evening we have Chief Forsyth to give his monthly chief's report. Evening, Chief.
Happy to be here tonight to report our activity for the month of January. Newtown Fire Rescue responded to 124 calls for service. We completed 53 fire safety inspections in Newtown Township and 13 in Newtown Borough. The highlights for the month of January, you guys have the list of them. I would like to touch on a couple of them. January 8th, Chief Weaver and I attended a meeting combined with the fire chiefs of Bucks County and fire marshals on a presentation of the National Emergency Response Information System. That's currently what we call NIFRS, where we report all of our incidents to both the state and the federal government. They're changing the system, so if you see NIRS coming out now, we're in the process of switching over to it, so it'll be different from NIFRS to NIRS, so it'll just be something different for you guys to see, and it'll be something for us to get used to using. So, the other thing, on January 15th, we had our Fire Services Committee. We had the opportunity to take a tour of the new fire station in Northampton at Station 3 on Newtown Richborough Road. I think the committee was a little surprised at the size of the building and the way it's conformed, but I think it's important for the board and the committee to see in the future. Hopefully we have a new building to house our firefighters and fire equipment out now for the safety of the firefighters. We have different zones in firehouses, and our current fire stations are not set up for the way they should be set up. So that was a huge deal for us. The other thing, on January 20th, Martin Luther King Day, the career staff and the volunteers responded to a working house fire on Columbine Circle. We were assisted by several mutual aid companies, and again, the staff did an outstanding job in controlling that fire and containing it to the garage. Just a note on that, I know that spring is right around the corner, but please, when you're emptying your fireplaces, put your ashes in a metal container and leave them outside. Do not put them in a trash can. because unfortunately, most of our trash cans are plastic now, and they don't fare well inside of buildings. The last thing I have is January 22nd. Members of Newtown Fire Rescue attended the graduation ceremony for the Bucks County EMT class, where we had 2 firefighters from the volunteer side successfully graduate from the program. That's a shorter version of what you folks have seen. If you have any questions or comments, I would be more than happy to answer and go from there.
Anybody have any questions for the chief?
Go ahead.
I would just like to say that I agree with Mr. Fisher when he said, what a great job you did representing Newtown Township at the PSETS meeting on Saturday, and we thank you for that. And you made us very proud, and you always make us very proud, so thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's nice to go there and have the opportunity. People think that the fire department has just become this size overnight. Newtown Township had the foresight, and this was what I said in our panel discussion the other day. We started our program in 1996 with 4 firefighters. And it used to be that the career staff was here to support the volunteers. Unfortunately, with the volunteers diminishing, it's now reversing where the career staff is the volunteers are supporting the career staff. So this is not something that Newtown Township just jumped into last year when we got 4 new firefighters on a SAFER grant. This is something that the board started in 1996 to help out the Fire Association, and it's just expanded from there. So I appreciate sitting on those boards. I think it's something that elected officials need to hear. But we'll take volunteers any day. Go on our Newtown Fire Rescue website, fill out an application. We're more than happy to have you, and we'll train you. We'll give you a nice set of gear to wear and put you to work. So we're always willing to take volunteers. So it was a pleasure to be there and support the volunteers and the career staffs of Bucks County.
Thank you, and we hope to keep on hiring firemen, real firemen, and career staff. We hope to keep on doing that, keep on building. That's what we need to do. We need to protect the borough and the township, and again, that's our mandate. So we will continue trying to do that in the best way possible.
And again, as you said earlier, and I know it was discussed at an earlier board meeting, February 4th, our career staff was first in on a dwelling fire in Lower Makefield Township. We have a quick response unit that we use. Those 2 firefighters were able to make entry. We had a homeowner who re-entered the dwelling after she was out to retrieve or try to save her animals. Unfortunately, she got disoriented on the 2nd floor, and our staff with the quick response was able to get her out before the situation turned even worse. I can tell you that I was one of the first officers on the scene, and when those guys were coming out with her, the house flashed over. That we can have a whole nother conversation on, but it was really, it was a serious situation that could have ended up a lot worse without our staff there. So our guys are well trained and they do a fantastic job, and thank you for supporting our division.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That's all we have under our report, Madam Chair.
Okay, moving on to other business. We have 2 appointments to consider. Oh, I'm sorry. Second round of public comment. Talk about anything that's not on the agenda. I don't know what's wrong with me today.
Good morning, everyone. Bradley Cooper, Newtown Grant resident. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but Upper Makefield just found out recently that there was a pipe leak that affected people's wells, and I'm going to tie it into some of the reason why some of the people are here. One thing that you guys have done in the past couple of years is approve a Wawa. This is opening up a door that something like this could happen because you agreed to allow them to put pipes down, so that could happen. And this could also happen with other projects that could be coming along the way if they do get approved. I know it's still early in the stages with a water treatment plant or any other business that has to run piping and or some type of lines that could leak into people's property that are put in places that I feel shouldn't be put in there, destroying land and animals and plants and all that. So just keep that in mind because people in other townships are affected by stuff that could be approved here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley. My name is Donna Serdula, and I'm a Newtown resident living in the Wiltshire Walk community. On February 4th, 2025, I submitted formal questions regarding the proposed wastewater treatment plant. And I know you guys have heard our opposition loudly and clearly. And I appreciate that this board has publicly stated its opposition. But until this project is officially canceled, our fight will not stop. I did receive an email from John Mack, thank you, who provided some answers to my questions. I also heard from Ellen Snyder, who asked me to take my concerns to the Sewer Authority board meeting, and I did exactly that. I attended their board meeting, presented my letter, and yet I still have not heard. I've not received an official response from this board or any answers from the Sewer Authority. We still want answers. And we will not stop until this plant is stopped for good. Right, guys? Tonight, I do want to highlight two key issues. The Sewer Authority has not stopped this project. This board opposes the plant, and yet the Sewer Authority has not officially canceled it. The authority has spent $9 million on land. They've raised our sewer rates by 47%, and they have moved forward with planning. A project like this does not simply go away unless we make sure it does. We cannot allow them to suspend this project and just hope that it simply goes away. We don't want it to quietly get restarted later. And so what happens next? If the Sewer Authority keeps moving forward, what legal and procedural steps can this board take to increase public oversight and accountability? Will this board ask the Sewer Authority to sell the land it condemned through eminent domain so it can never be used for wastewater treatment? We urge this board to take the next step, push the Sewer Authority to formally end this project. Until that happens, Newtown residents will not stop asking questions. And we will not stop demanding answers and accountability.
I'm Stephen Keeley. I live at 63 Elfreth's Court, Delancey Court, right across the street. And I'm here really representing our board of directors and the 222 residents of our community to thank Chairwoman Snyder for her response to our letter, and I hope that we can go forward in a positive direction from here regarding our concerns about the safety, the traffic safety that's going to, traffic safety conditions that will exist when the daycare center and the medical arts building is put into service next door here, basically. Excuse me. We have spoken, we at Delancey Court have spoken to a number of people at PennDOT, and pretty much to no avail. They have a position, and I can't blame them because they don't want to deal with a whole bunch of individuals. They'd rather deal with a governmental body such as yours to resolve the issues. Our issue centers pretty much on the fact that there are going to be, in the order of 796 trips in and out of that site every day. The worst situation is when in the peak hours of the morning between 7 and 9, and the peak hours in the evening between 4 and 6. There will be a line of traffic making left-hand turns from the center lane of 413, blocking the line of sight of our residents, as well as the southbound residents or southbound drivers on 413 from seeing each other. Very dangerous situation. And I think there's an easy solution, but I think it's important that this board can impress on PennDOT your concerns, and hopefully we can resolve the situation by, by a very simple procedure which is used very successfully by the New Jersey Department of Transportation. And that is to have traffic calming signals at either end of congested areas. If anybody's familiar with Route 31 in Pennington, that's just one example. They have a traffic calming signal, traffic signal, that turns red for about 30 seconds. It doesn't really disrupt traffic, but it does slow it down and allow traffic coming in from the side streets, just as we have the ability to do that here, because we have two lights, one on Wrightstown Road at Durham Road and one on North Drive. And they could be very easily coordinated and slow the traffic down and avoid the line of sight barrier that will exist by having this traffic lined up in the center lane. We've already had 2 accidents there, and we've had a number of near misses, and the traffic is nothing now, excuse me, it's nothing now like it is going to be after these 800 trips in and out of there every day. And we're asking the board please to take up our argument with the PennDOT people and impress on them that there's a lot of concern out there. Okay, any questions? Thanks for listening, and appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Fran Haller. I live in Newtown Grant. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for writing that letter to the Newtown Sewer Authority expressing your vehement opposition to the sewer treatment plant. That was very much appreciated. This past weekend, Mr. Shankman was overheard saying the sewer project was dead and Newtown Sewer doesn't want to fight and that they'll be sticking to the status quo. That's hearsay. What I do know firsthand information is what I was given when I called the Sewer Authority on February 18th. And the reason I called, I wanted to ask how the authority was going to respond to your letter. I was told that there would be a special meeting to announce their decision regarding the fate of the project. This meeting will be made public, it has to be advertised, and in addition, it would be posted on their website. So, Chairwoman, Snyder, since you're on the board of the Sewer Authority, do you know when we can expect the announcement of this special meeting?
I think that would be March 11th, but I will say that we tried to have a meeting sooner to get this done, but we couldn't get a quorum together. So until we have at least a certain amount of people to make up, an actual body that can pass something like this, we couldn't get it done. And unfortunately, March 11th, which is our next scheduled meeting, was the soonest that we could do it. But we tried to have a meeting in between to see if we could get it done quicker, which we would all like to do.
That would be your special meeting? The regular one will be that special meeting?
Yes, the regular one will be that meeting because we could not get a meeting together with a quorum before that, even though we tried.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to mention that I spoke to Jerry Shankman. Sorry. I'm thinking of my comedy class anyway. About possibly having, and I talked to Mr. Lewis also about possibly having that March 11th meeting in this room where there's more capacity. I'm not sure what type, if that is still possible, or?
I haven't gotten back word from everybody because our office manager sent out notices this afternoon to see who is available here, if it'd be earlier in the day or in the evening. And I don't know for sure, but we don't always get responses from everybody. That's part of the problem we have. But it's only been a few hours, so let's give it some time to work
Right.
through.
I just want to make that request that if possible, the township could provide this room for that meeting, because I know the room that they have at 15 South Congress Street is very small.
Yeah.
And usually it's, might be better to have it here, if we can do it.
When I get responses from other folks, and it probably take a few days to get some responses, I will certainly let you know. Yeah.
Valerie Mahalik, Newtown Walk Community. I think that's a great idea, Supervisor Mack, to hold the meeting here, since there was no special meeting for the public. I'm sure a lot of people will want to attend, and I guess, Mr. Shankman, that'll be on the website then, if the meeting is moved to here for the 11th?
I'm sure it will be at this point, but just be able to get more responses back to see what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
In 2023, Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority gave notice of a series of multi-million-dollar investments in its infrastructure, which includes the interceptor and other upgrades, where homeowners can expect to see an initial rate increase of 10% over the next 3 years. The rate increase to wholesale customers, the authority said, will be about 16%, which is the last increase noted on their website. In the meantime, we, the ratepayers in Newtown, saw a 47% rate increase. Why? Has the Board of Supervisors asked the Sewer Authority to address this dramatic rate increase, which doesn't align with the Bucks County Water Sewer Authority increase? The Newtown Sewer Plant Project was proposed in 2023. The Sewer Authority website states the Board of Supervisors were aware of it. Why wasn't it disclosed by the Board of Supervisors back then in 2023? If the plant is possibly being canceled, when are the ratepayers going to see a decrease in their rates that went up this January at 47%? Has the Board of Supervisors asked the Sewer Authority? We appreciate the letter that was sent on February 14th to the Sewer Authority, but the plant project has still not been canceled. So as Donna and Fran and the others have said, until it is officially canceled, we will keep pushing.
Is there anybody else for public comment?
Hi, I'm Stuart Stone from Newtown. John Mack, thank you for your communication. Thank you. First of all, I disagree. I hear 46%, 47% always. You got to back up another year. And Q3 of 22 to Q3 of 24, the minimum sewer rate, just to pick a constant, went from $68 to $82. Q3 to Q4 of 24, it went from 68 to 120. That's a 76% increase in 2 years. So that's just a fact. Many of us have lived in a lot of different areas around the country. I've lived in Massachusetts, LA, California, from Delaware originally. I have never, ever seen a sewer treatment plant on the outskirts of a city, especially as nice as Langhorne Borough, Newtown Township, Newtown Borough. It makes no sense. They're typically found in an industrial area near water, a river, or someplace. It's not even worth speaking about. It's ridiculous. I attended the meeting with the sewer authority back in probably August. John, you might have been there. And what I heard then, this might be old news for a lot of you, but their claim was we can have control over it. Now, this is 5,000 units. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? We're talking about 5,000 units for the sewer to support this sewer treatment expansion, right? 5,000 units. And the greater, I'm not sure the term, but the greater access for the sewer treatment plant is 100,000 units extending over a lot of areas, Ben Salem Township, wherever, right? Correct, John?
You're talking about users?
I'm talking about the option to use another sewer authority that Newtown, Bucks County community could tie into. They said that's an option. We could go there. There's 100,000 units in that area, okay? And that, whatever it's called, that sewer treatment plant. And we have 5,000 homes here for new treatment plant. It doesn't make sense to me. That's a very small population to fund a large cost to run a sewer treatment plant. On top of the fact, it's a ridiculous location. I've never seen anyone that close, any sewer treatment plant that close to a residential community or a town or a borough. So my point is, I guess the question I have, and maybe I'll direct that to the Bucks County Sewer Authority. I'd love to see how many other sewer treatment plants are dedicated for a 5,000 unit, city, borough, whatever you want to call it. It seems to be very, very small. I have no idea, I'm just guessing, but it sounds like it's a very small number, and it's a huge infrastructure they're putting in place. They said at the meeting, we want to have control. Their claim was, well, if we become part of the larger system with these other Ben Salem, these other townships, boroughs, there's a lot of older infrastructure there. We may have to their claim was, if we can't control that, we got to pay more, potentially more costs because their infrastructure is older. But my point was, that's 100,000 people, or 100,000 units, that's a lot to spread that cost over versus 5,000. So again, I think like everyone said here, probably have more knowledge than I do, but it's just common sense. To me, it's about control, maybe it's about egos, but it makes absolutely no sense. And thank you, board, for supporting the fact that you recommended we don't go forward with it, but I think what we've heard here before, what legal action do we have to stop them if need be? So maybe I'll just throw that out there. Maybe that's been pondered already, but it seems like it's pretty much a no-brainer to me, and we're just spinning our wheels and wasting time and wasting money. So it's a 76% increase from 2 years, not 47% from 1 year. And that $68 minimum was probably in place for at least 3 or 4 years. All right, thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Okay, moving on. First, we're going to try to get a consensus on adding Sarah McIntyre by appointment to the Joint Historical Committee. She has sent a resume, and the leader of this historical committee has highly recommended her. So I'm going to ask for a motion to have Sarah added to the historical committee.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Hearing none? All those in favor of adding Sarah McIntyre to the historical committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Second, an appointment to the Environmental Advisory Committee of Charlie Fuhrer. Again, he sent in a resume to us, so we all know his achievements. Do I have a motion to add Charlie Fuhrer to the Environmental Advisory Council?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations to both of you. If there's nothing else, which there isn't on the agenda, so I will call this meeting to a close. Thank you.